Hi guys, I thought I would just make a quick video talking about something that's quite important to me personally at the moment. I'm kind of working through a lot of emotions related to it, and I also see quite a lot of this sort of sentiment reflected in other people I talk to with autism, and it just has to be said for generally speaking, autism is not your fault. And I did upload a video on my second channel, kind of talking about this, I guess, in a more personal way. But I think it's important to kind of, to talk about this and how it applies to everyone, right? So, just to start off with, if you've been following my channel for any amount of time at all, really, you'll be aware that a lot, perhaps most of what I talk about are just how much it sucks being autistic, basically, and how how it puts me and statistically puts most autistic people just really far behind everyone else. Huge disadvantage, huge disadvantage, right? From the employment rate to making friends to, being homeless to self-deletion, right? It's sometimes, it can kind of seem like it's just shit life syndrome, right? It's not Asperger's syndrome, it's shit life syndrome. And, that is something that I do generally believe and have for a while. And I think to deny any of that is just being intellectually dishonest. It is, in general, it is shit life syndrome. It puts you at a huge disadvantage in so many ways, right? And there aren't many people who actually talk about the depths of the autistic leap pill like I do, the average person just thinks, oh, you're a NASA scientist genius, but oh, you can't make eye contact or you're asexual or something. And, all those things are just cliche stereotypes, right? There's huge, misinformation and, or just lack of knowledge, in general, in society in general, and I think with autistic people and people who know them, right? And I think I play an important role by shedding light on that in a realistic kind of Zoomer guy perspective on that, and of course I don't hold back on being talking about the negatives when when it's important. And I think it is important to talk about that, not to deny the struggles and the failures that most of us experience in life and the effect that has on us. And I just want to focus today on talking about throughout all this, it's important, I think, not to blame oneself. And, what do I mean by that? Well, if you listen to my previous, my previous uploads and stuff, where I'm talking about I'm talking about mainly on the second channel, right? For me, I have a huge, I'm extremely hard on myself. I have been historically, and I won't go into too many details on it because you can listen to that other video on my second channel. But I've been extremely hard on myself to the point of engaging in minor acts of self-harm as punishment for failure, basically. And it's only recently that I've kind of realised that's actually really unfair on myself, because it's not my fault that I am not able to, live up to neurotypical standards. I was born, my brain was born this way. And, I can try hard and mask and stuff, but I'm always going to have to try way harder than everyone else. And the payoff socially is basically always going to be less than it is for everyone else. And there isn't really anything I don't really have anything in my power. There's nothing in my power to change that, And so I kind of, it's not fair that I am horrible to myself. Not just like physically like self-harm, but just like, psychologically as well. Just horrible thoughts I have about myself and stuff. So yeah, that's like the personal angle on it for me, I guess. And also just when it comes to like, like thinking about like, obviously like I'm kind of at recently, I've been of the mindset of, just viewing myself purely as a disabled person and viewing autism as a disability, which in itself is controversial, and it shouldn't be controversial, man. But like, it does raise important questions when you kind of, that debate about, the disability status and stuff. And it's like, I gotta be honest, like, I did touch on this on my second channel video the other day, but like, honestly, like, autism isn't like, at least like, like without an intellectual disability, like, like high function, like Aspergerism, whatever you want to call it, level 1, maybe a bit of level 2, that's not necessarily like a bad thing, like entirely, because, like for me, for example, like, yeah, sure, like I'm in a sense, I'm failing at life because I'm just so far, but I'm like, pretty much 10 years developmentally behind most people my age now. I still have like the mental age of a teenager when it comes to like social skills and stuff. And there's no way for me to, I don't know how to go beyond that. My brain just isn't built for it. But when you look at the advantages, like my pattern recognition, my long-term memory and stuff, they're like 95th, probably like 99th, like percentile, in terms of quality, compared to the general population. And, like I got really good grades when I was in school, and lots of other Spurgs get really good grades. And sure, some aren't necessarily like academically successful, but they are extremely good at, maybe like a certain instrument. I'm talking about almost like savant tier, but not even necessarily qualifying as savant, but just like being above average, right? And I guess that can come from like, well, sensory differences, to be honest, and exceptional like ability to focus on things. Like, those attributes can be a good thing, right? Like, you can't deny that. Those can be advantageous, and yeah, like it's not our fault that the way society currently is like, if you go and apply to a job, like, one's ability to hold the right amount of eye contact while being able to listen to a conversation and having the right posture and getting people's pronouns right or whatever, like, or being able to smile in the correct way, shit like that matters so much more than like more basic intelligence. And should it? No, I don't think it should. You see like societies that are arguably much more successful than Western societies. I'm thinking of, places like mainland China, or even just East Asia more broadly, and like Israel, which I know is controversial to even mention that, but like Jewish society and stuff, where they're very high IQ, and sometimes like, especially like, like certain like Chinese like people and stuff, they can come across as being really rude to Westerners, but I don't think that's always the case. I think, certain like societies are just like that. There's a huge emphasis on meritocracy, on, getting good grades, on logic, over like, like pretending to smile or whatever, like, like soys do in the West and stuff. And, I mean, I've never been myself, but like, from what I can tell, like China is doing extremely well. They have like, I mean, their transport infrastructure alone is just incredible and puts like any other like country to shame. And they're gonna like mog the West into oblivion. Well, they already are. And then even like Israel, like Israel is just like a tiny strip of like desert land surrounded by people that hate it. And yeah, it's one of like the most successful countries in the world. And yeah, these are high IQ countries and that have a culture of, meritocracy and, don't care about not being popular as much, right? And, I think if I grew up in one of those societies, people like me, I think we'd have more of a chance. I mean, hopefully not Israel, because I like having a foreskin, but that's kind of beyond the point here. So yeah, that's like that's just I guess this is bordering on just like my personal view of things, my personal opinion on stuff, but like the main point I'm trying to make is that you can't, like if sorry, shit's popping up on my phone, that's annoying. But like, yeah, the point is that like there are like almost invariably like positives to someone who has autism, like almost invariably, right? And I think one thing that can kind of make that easy to forget is like there are a lot of people online who I talk to who are autistic, who are extremely unpleasant people, at least on the face of it. They can be extremely rude, extremely like unwelcoming. They can have very extremist opinions on things. Like, and I don't just mean like, oh, you voted for Reform UK. No, I mean, like to the point where it's almost like contradictory and like, just, I mean, what I mean, like obsessive kind of views and stuff. And yeah, it can be easy to have a very low opinion of those people. But like the reason why they've become that way is because they've just been like denied opportunities, denied like being included and stuff. And when that happens to people, they become radicalized and they adopt extreme beliefs in order to make the world make sense and feel justified to them. And of course that's an extremely controversial thing to do. And I don't consider myself to have any like seriously extreme views or anything like that. I'm certainly not politically correct or anything, but but like at the same time, like I can kind of see how people end up like that, when you've just been so like traumatically like rejected and denied a place in society, and unfortunately that's extremely common with people who are autistic. But yeah, like inevitably you're gonna get people turning into that, and like it's really easy for me to kind of shit on those people. And yeah, I'm not particularly keen on some of them, and but like in the same breath, I do understand, like that they've been through some horrible shit, because most autistic people have, and they're just trying to cope. And so even for those people, like it's not really your fault. It's like society made you this way. And, like, of course you're going to like have like, like contempt for society in some way, and so that's I mean, that's kind of understandable. But of course, like I have to kind of distance myself from that kind of way of thinking for obvious reasons. And I guess that's kind of what I do on this channel. Of course, I do kind of delve into and have adjacency and kind of like way of thinking to some of the whole bleak pill kind of Inkwell stuff a little bit. But that's just me trying to like be open minded and that. I don't subscribe to those extreme ideas necessarily and stuff. I just want to talk about my experience being autistic and be open minded about stuff. Really, that's what it comes down to. But we're going back to these types of people. It's like even them. Yeah, they are extremely flawed people, right? I'm talking about Inkwells and stuff and people who are anti-Semitic and whatever. They are flawed people though, because that's just it's not rational to kind of have those opinions. There is much more nuance there and stuff. And of course that's another thing, right? As Spurgs, we can miss nuances because we have black and white thinking. But if society gave Spurgs a fair fucking chance, included us and stuff, you wouldn't have Spurgs wouldn't be doing that. Spurgs wouldn't be obsessing over a certain country in the Middle East, or obsessing over being standing on their tippy toes or mewing or whatever, because that's the thing, being Spurgs being rejected by society kind of drags a lot of them into that Inkwell trap. I won't say Inkwell trap, but just that extremely cynical and often logically fallacious way of being, way of thinking. But it's not their fault, it's just society didn't give us a fair chance, really. That's what it is. Because we have lots of stuff to offer, right? And it's I saw this funny meme the other day. It was it's a pretty NT meme or whatever. Or it's not it's not dark humor. It's just a meme. But it was it kind of said someone said, oh, everyone's a little bit autistic, and then it was trains are always delayed and shit like that, and I can't remember all the rest of it. And then it was no, I don't think so. And it's that's such a good point. It's if someone let me manage for example, transport infrastructure or whatever, I would be extremely good at it. I would never cause any fucking delays at all, because I have such a good visual memory. I can literally I can think of a map in my head. I can see it out my third eye kind of thing. And I always just thought that was normal, but no, most people, they just really struggle with that. They got to rely on their AI phone telling them where to go and stuff. And I it's not to say I don't have difficulties, of course I do, but I just have that really good visual memory, and combined with things like pattern recognition and stuff, being really high in ability. It's I have lots that I could contribute to society if society gave me a chance, and I know that I'm speaking for many Spurgs, perhaps even a majority of us. But it's not my fault that the way society's set up, people like me, because we have gaps on our CV, because we don't meet diversity requirements, even though in principle we should, because we're a protected characteristic, but whatever. Or, because we don't make the right amount of eye contact, because we don't smile, because we don't have the right posture, right? All those things again. Stuff like that, right? And just because we don't have have the confidence because we've been through years or decades of just being rejected by everyone, like that, that just has such a huge knock-on effect. And, those things, and, plus, just the cultural prejudice of society. And I'd almost go as far to say, like, I mean, this is not a nuanced thing to say, but it's almost like an idiocracy. Like, I mean, like, I always try not to talk about politics, but like, if you're like in a Western country, like, you look at how your government is behaving, like, like, I guess I'm quite like in just the UK, like, there are two possibilities, right? Like, either the government is full of people who are completely incompetent, so thus idiocracy, or they are, being malevolent and pretending to be incompetent while laundering loads of money or whatever. But then even then, like the average, the general population, like, keep voting them in. And so they're idiots, right? So either way you look at it, it's an idiocracy. In a sense, right? And like, that baffles me. That's always baffled me. Like, why don't people see, like, this is just a terrible way to run society. Without being too specific about my political opinions, just like, well, like, I don't even know if I have very proper political opinions, I just, like, things either make sense to me or they don't, like, things are either, like, just like, like, I have a sense of morality, and I have a good sense of, things that are a good idea and things that are a bad idea, and I just kind of, apply that to situations, things like foreign aid, like, that's so stupid. That's clearly just, like, money laundering by the government, or, or whoever, like, pays the government and stuff, and I don't know, I don't want to get into that too much, but yeah, it's just, society is just run by idiots or run for idiots, either one or both, like, and like, if society kind of, like, like, gave people like me, like, or, just more social mobility in general, just, gave people like me the opportunity to kind of have more of a say, have some influence in society, be able to kind of, or, just give us as much of a chance as the average person, to be honest, just a fighting chance is all I'm asking for. I'm not asking to be king, like, just give me a fucking chance, offer me, like, opportunities, whatever, I don't know, like, just be patient with me, whatever, just accept that I'm different to you, I act a bit different to you, but, we're still intelligent, we're still, we can be trusted more than the average person, right? Like, that's another virtue of autism that, often gets ignored by most people, and because it can be a disadvantage, right? And because you live in such a messed up world, right? Like, being able to naturally, like, mislead and lie and stuff, like, that's actually more of an advantage than being able to be trusted. And so that, that is just a huge kind of way in which autists are disadvantaged that no one talks about. So, society is, it's, well, like, I do say to myself a lot, like, I've missed out on so much. I'm missing out on so much, man. Like, I'm so far behind in terms of social development, in terms of dating experience, in terms of career experience, all of it, pretty much. But it's like, oh, their society's missing out as well. NTs are missing out because you have, like, some of, like, the most intelligent people are just basically being shut out from most of society. I mean, yeah, look, like, the employment rate, right? Like, it's brutal. Alone, and the fertility ratio for autists is like 0.24 for autistic men and stuff, and so, those high IQ genes are just going to die out and stuff, arguably. And, who's that going to affect? It's going to affect mostly NT society, as well as us, of course, and which sucks, I think that kind of takes me back to the whole, being autistic sucks, mostly. But also, like society is missing out hugely. It's, there are so many ways in which so many of us could, if things were different, if we were given opportunities, if we were given a bit of help and support. But we could be able to contribute and improve society, and leave our mark in huge ways. And people go on about like how loads of historical figures who, historical scientists and philosophers and stuff, and even like leaders, who, they had autistic traits, and it's like those are the people who brought humanity forward. But nowadays, because I guess society's got too comfortable and, cares more about social nuances and all that jazz, right? Much more than, what's right and, what's smart to do, and so people like us, we just get sidelined, and, that's not my fault. I didn't ask for that to happen. So it's not my fault that I'm autistic. It's not my fault that I'm not able to live up to, the standards everyone else can. And it's not your fault. So I kind of want to wrap this up by just saying, if you're listening to this and you're in a similar position to me, you're struggling and you have some skills and stuff, but, you can't really fully apply them in a way that's marketable, in a way that would, leave your mark on society and contribute to humanity. It's not your fault, really. It's everyone, it's society as a whole's fault for not giving you a chance, and in some cases, for actively, stopping you from, shining, to say a really blue-pilled use a really blue-pilled term there. And so don't beat yourself up too much. But, again, it also means, don't go around just, disliking every neurotypical person because they're neurotypical, because it's not their fault either, it's just the system, man. That's just such a stoner thing to say. It's just the system, man. So you still got to try and, give everyone a chance, and assume that everyone's a good person unless they prove otherwise still. Because it's not, the average neurotypical person out there, it's not their fault, that you're upset. Maybe it is, or it's not their fault that, you're not able to do what you want in life. It's, maybe it is a bit if, like me, they, people who bullied you and rejected you and discriminated against you and abused you in your formative years, then it's their fault a little bit, and they owe you an apology, to be honest. But just the average neurotypical person who hasn't done anything to you, it's not their fault. They're stuck in the same society that you are, and so it's important to have these nuances. Especially if you don't want your channel to be taken down and be put in a prison cell. Man, that's some pretty bad humor right there. But I kind of want to just be that voice to kind of, talk about these difficult topics, but, also do it with a bit of nuance, kind of just bridge that gap. And it's there is a huge pain there, right, of not being able to live up to your potential, right? But it's not me who's stopping myself from doing that, it's the environment I'm in that's stopping that. And if I woke up tomorrow and society was a bit different, and they're like, hey, Aris, yeah, you're really smart and stuff, and maybe you can help us with this problem we have or whatever, like, and, we're gonna, like, give you a great salary and opportunities and stuff, like, yeah, I'd jump at the chance. I would, what a great feeling that would be to be, highly contributing, high social status, highly respected in the world, among other people. That would be great. But it's just, yeah, I'm just not given a chance, and most of us aren't, judging by the employment statistics, and that's not our fault. It's not our choice, and so, and we didn't ask to be born, so don't beat yourself up about it. Is kind of what I want to end this on. Yeah, don't blame yourself. All right. I don't know if I'll upload this. I might have to listen back to check if I said anything too bad. I think it's probably fine. So anyway, talk to you later.